At UFC 302, it would seem Dustin Poirier has an impossible task. He's going in to challenge against perhaps the most dangerous champion we have at the moment in Islam Makhachev, the pound-for-pound #1. In both Dustin's previous attempts to win UFC gold, he's had to deal with high-level grapplers who've both found his neck. Islam has not just himself to fight for, but he's carrying the legacy of the Dagestani fighters who have come before him, and there's only one thing on his mind Saturday, adding to his own legacy. Can Dustin find a way to stop the grappling, survive the submissions, and make use of his own dangerous striking? Or will we be once again witnessing the dominance from the lightweight champion? Well, don't panic, because I'm about to break the whole thing down. Today we're going to look at Dustin Poirier's takedown defense, Islam Makhachev's aggressive grappling, Dustin's striking against other southpaws, and Islam's kicking game and how that might factor in. Alright guys, UFC 302, it's a highly anticipated matchup. This one, Islam Makhachev, the champion, taking on Dustin Poirier. Now, a lot of people are writing off Dustin because we saw him go up against Khabib. Khabib obviously has trained with Islam for a long time. They've got a very similar game. And for Dustin, it didn't really work out in that fight. He had some moments, but he also got taken down and submitted. So there's a lot to unpack in this one. We're going to take a look at a few things, including Dustin Poirier's takedown defense and kind of what happens when he gets put in these situations against the cage. And that is a good place to start. So that is where we shall start, ladies and gentlemen. Right, first things first, we've got Khabib. He's just going to shoot a takedown here on Dustin Poirier. Boom. Now right here, Dustin trying to get the arm underneath to get an underhook involved, knows what he has to do. Also from this position, he can attack the guillotine, but he also likes to lift his man up. Clear enough at the start of the fight to be talking to the corner nice and relaxed, and he's going to try and elevate, but this is the problem he has against Khabib. He keeps rotating and getting to his back, and that's a big no-no for Dustin. So we see here again, whenever he's got his head past the underhook side, it's problems. Now, a couple of times Dustin's trying to do things like hit the switch on the inside, but we're going to end up talking a lot about this body lock position, because when the hands are together, Khabib has complete control, and the same could be said of Islam Makhachev. Able to come back on top, keep top position and start attacking the neck. And once he's in this position as well, obviously this is a world of hurt for Dustin. We're going to get all this ground and pound, the Dagestani handcuff on the far side. All of this punching is just so he can slip that arm deeper under the neck. So you'll see he's just trying to force this left arm with these punches. Boom, 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 until he can bring the arm under across the neck. And honestly right here, you know, with 2 minutes left in the round, first round, Khabib's got a really nasty neck crank and he is just squeezing the life out of Dustin. But Dustin doesn't tap, all right? So even if he gets in this bad spot early, Poirier is a guy who's full of grit, tenacity. It's unlikely maybe that Islam will get him out there as quick as he's gotten out some other guys, and we will take a look at that. But that's how Dustin Poirier's, the start of this fight goes for him. Not good. So again, I want to talk about this backside control position. So whenever Khabib has his head on the outside of this arm, so this arm isn't working for underhooks, he's not faced on, he's already taken the backside. From this position, Dustin really has no response. He starts to get ragdolled all over the place. But right here, after a level change, you'll see Dustin's able to rotate and pummel the underhook. And that's exactly what he wants to do. As the level change was timed, he turned into him, grabbed his underhook, and now he's squared up against him. He can base, turn his toes, and he can defend the takedowns a lot easier when he's squared into his man. We're also going to see here Volkanovski, same kind of thing against Islam Makhachev. Against the fence, you know, Volk did really well. This is the rematch. He's here, he gets an underhook, and as soon as he's got his underhook, Volkanovski's able to reverse the position and stop someone like Islam Makhachev controlling him along the fence line. Now, I'm not going to say Dustin Poirier is going to be able to do this easy peasy as well as Volk. Volk was a Greco champion, I think, in Australia. He's got fantastic grappling. People sleep on it. Greco's all about upper body control as well, so he's really good there. And he's able to do this to Islam. I'm just trying to say that Dustin needs to avoid this and needs to come in to this as much as he can. So again here against Khabib, we've got a similar situation. This time Dustin already has his underhook. This is good, this is what we just talked about, this is what he wants, but he gives it up and turns away from him. Right here, he tries to pull over the top, and in doing so, the head comes on the outside and we have this body lock back control position, and from here he's just gonna pull Poirier off the fence, do whatever he wants with him as soon as he gets away from that underhook arm. Here as well, you can see, you know, he's got this backside position, he's away from the underhook, he's trying to hit this switch, but the hands are still locked. The body lock is the problem. And if he can't address this grip that Islam's gonna have on him, is gonna be a really tough fight for Poirier, basically. Right, we'll see another takedown here from Khabib. Lovely level change, deep penetration, gets the hands locked behind him. And this is something Poirier does a lot, right? Attack this guillotine, okay? He's been talking about the guillotine. We saw it in his last fight.
But in this fight, it just ended up in this position where, again, Khabib's forcing this arm up just so he can put his head behind, secure the body lock and this back control position. And again, the shot from the outside, the long frame from Poirier, you know, this is because of his southpaw. He reaches with his southpaw hand, but it also helps him grab the neck as you come in, as you can see right here. So it does help him attack the guillotine when he can frame out and go underneath, but ultimately it all led to this position, getting his head punched deeper into this choking arm, and he ends up getting submitted by Khabib after, you know, a relentless grappling assault, trying to keep him off him, and unfortunately, ultimately, not being successful as that. Even against Michael Chandler, we saw the same thing. This body lock control position away from the underhook side, right here, heads away from the underhook arm, body lock control. Poirier's gonna try and hit this switch on the inside here again, do the same thing. But of course, because of the body lock as Chandler, he can maintain position as well as pull his hips away at the same time. And there you go, he's able to just ride through. Poirier butt scoots his way back out. But again here, away from the underhook side, turning away from him, Chandler on the back, and what happens in this position? Perfect opportunity to take a suplex. Not the best landing on it, but still a suplex, and he rolls and follows on through because he's keeping those hands together. Again, a level change from Chandler. Now, Poirier does a good job hopping on one leg, good balance, gets heavy on top of Mike, and you think, oh, cool. He's basically defended this single leg, except this is Michael Chandler, and I put this in here because it's cool. The guy is like full out on his knees here, but can still stand up and just lift the guy, and then also get this great takedown. But even in the scrambles, you know, Poirier is pretty good. He's active, ends up on top position, and actually beats up Chandler and finishes him because of this. Against Charles Oliveira, we'll see the same thing. So this is a bit different because Charles wants these body locks. So he'll level change under this lead arm to attack the hips, but he wants to come up into this body lock position right here. Now, something Dustin uses really well in this fight is the whizzer. We call this the whizzer. We talked about the underhook when your arm is under. If you're trying to defend or you're trying to have an overhook in a defensive position to break posture, to stop level changes, to control, and you can't get the under, you use the whizzer. And this is what Dustin uses against Charles to great effect right here, to stop a bunch of takedowns. So we've got this whizzer position. Charles is now trying to pull him away from the cage, whatever he can do to get this takedown, hook the back of the leg. But this strong whizzer even here, as he tries to drop and come underneath, switch his arms to the other side, all in that whizzer to stop these takedown attempts. And again here, same thing, body lock. That's the best position Charles wants. We talked about this. Gonna drive into him a little bit here with his head, squish him up against the cage and snap down. But again, whizzer, whizzer, whizzer from Dustin Poirier right here. Keeps him on his feet in these positions. And it's good strength, can base out with the left hand and still keep himself up. And this is what we need to see from these body lock positions, but also the problem with using the whizzer is eventually, if they do pass by, you can go straight to the back. And that is where Charles Oliveira ends up in this fight. This isn't the finish, but obviously if you're gonna whizzer, you're only then presenting that target at the same time. So an effective form of defense, but also leaves Dustin vulnerable in these positions as well. This time though, he's able to strip the hands, break the body lock, and that's why Charles can't stay on top. So he addressed the body lock and managed to survive the position. Let's have a look here at how the fight ends. So you have a straight right from Charles Oliveira and a level change at the same time. Now this is right at the start of the third round, they're fresh. What does Dustin do? Fires this lead check hook. And then in doing that, gives his back with the outside head position into the body lock, outside of the underhook, everything that we talked about, and Charles ends up on his back like that. Jumps on him, locks in the rear naked choke, and then he gets the finish. Doesn't matter that he spent 2 rounds, you know, being very competitive in that fight, doing everything he could. One level change with a hook that left him open to the back was all it took for Charles Oliveira to get that back body lock, jump on, sink in the choke. And that again shows the danger in this fight for Dustin Poirier, because Islam Makhachev is definitely also the kind of guy that's going to do that to you. So Dustin can fight perfect for 20 minutes, make one mistake on a takedown attempt, he can take the back, and that could be the end of the fight. But let's talk about Islam Makhachev right now and take a look at some of the things he does well. Some of the times he's just tore through people with his top game, his takedowns and his submissions. So let's have a look at him against Dan Hooker right here. Simple right hook, level change into a lovely takedown. Disguised it behind the striking, mixing things up, lovely job. But once he gets to the ground with Dan Hooker here, he absolutely cuts through him. So top position here, Dan's trying to elevate, little push down on the knees, and we see this lovely body triangle position here with the left leg of Dan Hooker, just cinching this up, gonna get loads of lockdown and control. Little knee to the body, which I like as well. And it's such a methodical approach. Pin the arm down to the mat, separate the legs and step out. He's going to even follow the body here with good balance, stretch the toes out to stop him from bridging up, and then he just steps across with the right leg and locks up a Kimura. Very methodical, step by step, 2.5 minutes, and it's an easy win for Islam. Bobby Green here throws a front kick, a minute 20 into the fight. First kick really that he catches it, tries to sweep. But I want to talk about this ability for Islam to stay glued to his opponent here. He's got one hook. Bobby's got an underhook right here, but he doesn't want it. He tries to pull his arm out. Islam's pinching. And even when Bobby starts to break, he keeps one hand on him. One hand, a connection at all times, because as long as he's touching you, he can shoot back in for these takedowns. So even when you're in a position against the fence where you want to get away, Islam's still trying to touch you so he can still grapple. And right here we saw from Bobby Green, go for a guillotine. Didn't work out for him in this one, unfortunately. Great balance from Islam, takes the full mount, and then this is how this one ended. But again, Bobby Green decided to go for the guillotine right there, ends up on the ground, gets TKO'd. Against Moises, a pretty credentialed grappler, Islam had a bit of a problem. Moises actually took him down a bit, but we saw some other sort of wrinkles to Makhachev's game as well, including this beautiful whizzer kick, using this whizzer hook that we talk about, where you trip under and throw over the top. Did it to Charles Oliveira as well. So even when he's in a defensive position, you still don't want to be grappling with Islam. This is just a great job of stuffing the head, turning around, and just beating Moises in this grappling position, which I'm sure these guys do at the gym all the time against the wall. I'm against the wall, I'm going to stuff and rotate, and now you're in a bad position. So basically, Dustin wants to do everything he can to stay away from the fence, because even if he wins these grappling positions in the same way that we saw Volk do, it's no guarantee he's going to be hold on to him, and he probably would do better to just separate from every grappling scenario. Here again as well, we see deep late into the fight, this back control position that we talked about. You know, what happens if Islam gets this position on Dustin like we've seen? Well, this kind of thing can happen, where he just gets this body lock sort of half suplex slam, just lifts him up, goes straight into the back control as well. That could be over there, right there in the fight. Little touch against the fence line right here as well. And we see another takedown straight into this body lock as the lead hook comes round. The same with Oliveira and Dustin. And even this late into the fight, in the 4th round, has the strength to lock the hands and lift the man up and slam him down right there. So even just in those sort of scenarios, you've seen a bunch of threats from Islam, all of which can target those holes we've just seen in Poirier's game. Obviously, once he got Moises down, we even see the same thing where he's punching to make space for this left arm to shoot through. Only takes a second right there. I mean, it's so quick that he gets that arm under the neck, but he only needs a second, even against a guy like Moises, and he gets the tap on the rear naked choke. All right, so that's some of the ground game of Islam Makhachev. Obviously very scary, and you know, Dustin may do way better than we expect. We don't really know. One thing about Dustin Poirier though, he's fantastic on the feet. We know that, but another little wrinkle to this fight is Islam Makhachev is a southpaw, predominantly a southpaw. And Dustin Poirier has fought a lot of southpaw strikers, and he's got a really good game plan to just piece guys up. And the first time we really saw it was when he fought Conor McGregor in the big fight before the leg break, and we saw this southpaw v southpaw matchup, and Poirier just dominated a lot of the exchanges. The first thing he started using were those leg kicks, those calf kicks. We saw that right from the opening bell. Calf kick after calf kick, and the reason this works as well is because they're both southpaw. Both lead legs are facing each other. So the leg kick just comes from the rear leg to the front leg. If these were switched, you're now throwing an inside leg kick, which is not only a little harder because you have to travel a bit further, but if you're coming inside and you get checked on the inside, it causes a lot more damage to you because you're attacking the inside angle. It's easier to turn the leg in, and you'll take more damage coming on the inside as if you come on the outside of the check. But southpaw v southpaw, the leg kicks are there all day, and that's why Dustin took advantage of them. And they're going to be there in the Makhachev fight if he throws these leg kicks. Again, nice calf kick right here. And we saw towards the end, this lead hook as well be a big weapon for Dustin Poirier. The check right hook from the southpaw v southpaw matchup. So we see the leg kick buckles in, long left hand, and also reactionary here, we have the right hand from Dustin Poirier, the right hook coming out. Funny thing is, we saw it against Chandler as well. Every time Chandler went southpaw, we saw exactly the same thing. So you have an orthodox Chandler, he's going to throw a shifting right punch and end up in southpaw. What does Poirier do? Almost immediately sets him up for this lead hook. Bam! Nice work. Chandler doesn't like that, goes back to orthodox. Right here, a little southpaw drift right here from Chandler, showing him a little bit of it. Doesn't take half a second before a calf kick comes out. I'm going to go back to orthodox. And against Benoit Saint-Denis, another southpaw, we saw the same game plan from Poirier. Lots of calf kicks, lots of check right hooks as he's entering their pocket there. Even against these clinch attempts, you know, we had these really in-tight uppercuts following with these check hooks as well. Lots of jump guillotines attempts as well in this one, which I don't know. Maybe we'll see it in the fight. Benoit's following along the fence line here. This is a big left uppercut that rocks him. But right here as well, off this jab to the body, I mean, there's so much space here for this right hook again from Poirier. which is connecting. And, you know, it's another Southpaw v Southpaw thing right here. You know, if you're orthodox and I'm going to throw the hook, it is still there, especially because a lot of Southpaw guys keep their lead hand low sometimes. So if you're orthodox, your left hook can come around this lead hand. If I'm trying to parry you down, every time I parry down, obviously it creates an angle for this lead hook. But when we're both the same stance, the lead hook becomes an exchange. It's a rotation in motion at the same time. Think Carlos Condit, Dan Hardy, where they both missed and then came back at the same time. And it just makes it a bit of an easier angle to wrap that lead hook around. And that's why he finds success with it against other Southpaws. So there's the lead hook right there on the chin of Benoit. That wobbles him a bit, misses or bangs him with a straight left right here. And the finishing sequence, left hand, he just gets to the inside of this hook and then comes back, boom, drops the right hand. And look at the ragdoll. I mean, there's power in that right hook from Dustin Poirier. Just sends him to the canvas. If he lands a good flush one of those on Islam, it could change the whole fight. Again, we've seen the Conor fight, so he misses this big body kick and then bam, accuracy on the inside to throw back with the right hook. And obviously the onslaught, you know, this is vintage Dustin Poirier. We can talk about all these other striking assets, but you know, his ability to square up and just flurry against the fence. The problem we did see though, Conor started to catch a lot of these kicks, these leg kicks, and this is Conor McGregor, not a high level grappler. Granted, he's got good timing and that'll inform his ability to be able to catch these kicks. But if Conor's catching these kicks against Dustin and walking him to the fence like this, you've got to wonder how easily Islam might find this an effective part of his game plan. If he can hook the back of this left leg and drive him to the fence. Luckily, Dustin's, you know, great cover roll with the right hand there as well. But against Khabib, Dustin was throwing these leg kicks and Khabib was trying, but couldn't really catch any of them. And this is right at the start of the fight, so, you know, Dustin's obviously going to be a bit more wary of the grappling then, but he's throwing out these kicks and Khabib's trying to catch him and he's just not getting a handle on any of them. So you got to wonder, will Dustin throw kicks coming into this fight? Logic might say no, you don't want to get taken down, but against Khabib he was throwing them and he was okay. We've already seen Islam catch the Bobby Green kick, and you know, there's a great sparring video of Islam where he just catches a kick and sweeps and gets on top, and I think he's very good with that kick catch game. So I think Poirier needs to be careful if he does want to use that calf kick game plan that's worked so well against many other Southpaws. All right, so we talked a little bit about the striking of Dustin Poirier, but what about Islam Makhachev? A guy who, you know, wasn't looked at as a good striker, but now has started knocking people out, including, you know, Volkanovski. And the weapon he used was that left head kick, and it's kind of become a weapon Islam's used a lot for quite a while right here as well. We'll talk about a bit of a nuance to it, but let's just have a look at it first. So again, got his man against the fence line right here. Orthodox v Southpaw, so you see this lead hand play that Islam likes to use to measure range and everything right here. And the reason this head kick is so effective, and honestly I think the reason why Justin was able to land it on Poirier as well and knock Poirier out with a head kick, which is another reason why we're talking about this, is because it's Orthodox v Southpaw. They call this the open side. Not this left side, the back side is the open side, this right hand side. Because the stance, the toes are meeting, and they're both open on the backside. This means things from the rear leg, like the left head kick, are gonna travel and do way more damage because you're not as guarded on your lead side as you are on your backside. Typically, you've got a lot more shell and covering, you have to travel further. So this left head kick becomes a big weapon against orthodox guys. And we'll just see him throw one up here, touch, gonna just measure the distance with the hands. He's probably a little too close here. Bam, throws up the head kick. Great block here by Moises. But we'll see him get really comfortable with it. This time he's circling, pulling Charles to the right into this left head kick, which again, Charles does a good job blocking and getting away. And this one's even more impactful. Right here, just throws it up, even throws the left out, Leon Edwards style. And you can see this wrap around the back of the head here. And we'll talk about this for a second. So against McGregor, we have this left head kick, right? This is Southpaw v Southpaw. So this is what the fight with Islam is gonna be. And this left head kick is coming up on the lead side of Poirier now. Gaethje kick came up on this side. Islam, Conor kicks are coming up on this side, if it's off the back leg, which means it's a little easier for him to cover. You know, typically that right hand is going to be ready to guard that lead hook that we talked about. So against Poirier, even though he had that weakness to the head kick against Gaethje, I don't know if it's going to be there against Islam Makhachev. It's going to come to his lead side, where Poirier is usually quite defensively aware, and he'll even high elbow it sometimes like this as well, right? You see this high elbow defense that some guys go to. I just want you to watch this as well. I've sped this sequence up, but this is Islam versus Volkanovski. Volkanovski, very, very high level mixed martial arts striker. But this is now Islam Makhachev, long in the tooth in his MMA career, the rematch with Volkanovski, and his footwork is amazing right here. Southpaw v Orthodox, he wants this lead foot on the outside of this right foot. And he also wants to create a lane for this back leg, for the body kicks and the head kicks that he knocks him out with. Watch the footwork of Islam in this sequence as he perfectly stays in perfect position on the outside of that lead foot for this whole little sequence. We'll run it twice here so you can see it, but just watch his right foot just stay in perfect position the whole time, always constantly moving to the outside, trying to find the angle around that foot to set up that back leg. And you start to see him do it here as well. Alex is circling this way because he wants left foot on the outside. Islam's going this way. So they're moving, steps to the outside to get the jab. And this actually draws Volk for a second to his right-hand side. As soon as he starts to move this way a little bit, Islam throws up this head kick, and that lands in the same spot as the finishing kick. It just doesn't quite finish him. But the second he got him moving into it, that weapon is already there. And again, he's gonna now circle to the right because he wants to get an angle for a nice left body kick right here. Boom, great job with the body kick. And that ultimately sets up the finishing shot right here as well, because you have this touch, little fake there for the level change, creates space for this head kick. And again, loads up, Volk's pulling his hips away. He thinks it's coming in here, but actually goes up on top of the dome, cracks him, and takes him out of there. And then you just see fury from Islam Makhachev. Boom, 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 just smashing up Volkanovski's face. All right, there you go. So there's the matchup between those two at 302. It's a great fight, right, guys? Poirier, the veteran, coming in to try and fight for the title. He's got some sort of, I wouldn't say obvious holes, but, people have exploited parts of his game, which makes it more interesting because you have like that jiu-jitsu versus striker matchup, except Islam Makhachev is not a jiu-jitsu guy. He's also a Sambo world champion wrestler with crazy dangerous striking as well. I think it's a really good matchup. I think the obvious pick, right, is Islam Makhachev for all the reasons we've just discussed. Poirier needs to not let him take his back. He needs to keep square in those positions against the cage, find his moments to escape, and then work with the striking on the feet. Calf kicks could be there if they don't get caught. That check right hook, I expect, will be a big weapon if Poirier gets anything going. We didn't really talk about all his striking because we've done a few of these breakdowns now, but Poirier has a great long straight left as well, a really long jab that he uses in Southpaw v Southpaw matchups, so expect him to use that, recircling, trying to pop shot. Islam, really, you don't know if he's going to level change, you don't know if he's going to try and set up the big power kicks. I do think there is something to this matchup being the same stance, Southpaw v Southpaw, all the stuff we've seen with Islam, with his left body kicks, left head kicks, they're against orthodox guys. Now, that might not sound like a massive difference, but it should make those techniques harder to land. And we might see a complete adjustment in the game plan from Islam because of that. If I had to pick a winner, I've got to pick Islam Makhachev. Of course, you can't go with that guy. I think he might hold that belt for a long, long time. But the guillotine is there with Poirier as well. And if he pulls that off, I think we'll all lose our minds and I'll stop doing breakdown analysis because it won't mean anything because people can do shit like that. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know who you think is going to win in the comments down below. As always, we appreciate you watching these breakdown videos, a bit different from our normal content. But let me know what you think down below, guys. 302, it's going down!